Oh boy, you guys are not ready for this yet. Or maybe you are, I don't know. Hope so. Anyway, here's the review. At long last, here's my review of possibly the most anticipated film of all time, and undoubtedly the most anticipated movie of this decade. Star Wars, Episode 7, The Force Awakens. It's finally here. So unlike my previous Star Wars reviews, this is going to be completely spoiler-free. We'll do a spoiler-filled review at some point in the future, but for now, I want to avoid spoilers completely in this video for your sake, because you should go into this movie knowing what you know from seeing the trailers. And if you've avoided all the trailers, then I applaud you for that, because it was difficult to avoid. So the simple plot follows this girl, Rey, living on this desert planet of Jakku. She comes across this little orange and white droid named BB-8, a former stormtrooper named Finn, and from there on out, the three of them embark on a journey that takes them across the galaxy as they meet many characters and try to stop the evil Kylo Ren and the First Order. A childish way to describe the plot, to be sure, but I want to try to avoid all spoilers for this review. Now, a long time ago, in a galaxy far, far away, or maybe in this galaxy, the Star Wars trilogy was one of the greatest film series of all time. It changed the way films were made. They were the most popular movies out there. Everybody loved them. We still love them. Then the prequel trilogy came out, and everyone can agree that it's pretty bad. It basically lacked 95% of the things that made the original films so timeless, which I feel bad grouping all the prequels together because I do like Revenge of the Sith, just not the other two. So now we have a brand new series of films, and this first one's directed by J.J. Abrams. So what's the verdict? Well, this is going to say a lot coming from a guy who adores Return of the Jedi. Like, I love Return of the Jedi just as much as the first two. This is the best Star Wars film since The Empire Strikes Back. I love this movie. I absolutely love it. This is one of those rare occasions where I think a movie lives up to the hype. Because with a film like Star Wars, a lot of people are anticipating for it, but there possibly is no way it can live up to the hype. I mean, look at what happened with Phantom Menace. But, against all odds, The Force Awakens ended up being everything I wanted out of a Star Wars movie, plus more. It has a lot of things that are fresh and new, but feel just like those older films, the films that people do classify as real Star Wars films. It brings back the simplicity of those movies. It brings back the fantasy element of those movies. It really does make you believe in this galaxy far, far away. And the actors all do a great job. When was the last Star Wars movie where you actually see actors do a good job? Let's get into the newcomers. John Boyega plays Finn, as I said, a stormtrooper who kind of has a change of heart and leaves the First Order, which is the successor to the Galactic Empire. John Boyega plays this character with such great charisma, he's so likable, and I love the idea of a stormtrooper that kind of sees what he's doing is not a good thing. He has a change of heart, and I think that's something that people can relate to. It's like, no, what I'm doing is wrong. The way we're introduced to him is really cool. Then we have Oscar Isaac, one of my favorite actors working today, as the Resistance pilot Poe Dameron, and Oscar Isaac described this character as the best damn pilot in the galaxy, and watching this performance, you definitely believe that. He's not cocky, but he's full of life and loves the hell out of what he's doing. He gets a kick out of flying, and he's just really great in this movie. Unfortunately, I didn't think he was in it that much, but whenever he's on, I'm loving every second of it. And there's a great sequence in this movie with him and Finn that really showcases the chemistry that these actors have, and it shows great camaraderie between these two especially. But for me, the show stealer of the entire movie is Daisy Ridley as Rey. Daisy Ridley is an actress that is relatively unknown. I don't think she's been in anything before Star Wars, and she was incredible in this film. I am not exaggerating. She absolutely nailed it. She's a strong, independent woman who really takes after herself. She doesn't need much help from anyone else because she's been living her whole life as a scavenger, trying to fend for herself, grabbing junk parts off of an abandoned Star Destroyer to sell for money or whatever the currency is on Jakku. It's really great. I hope her career launches after this because I think I'm in love with her. She deserves every bit of praise she gets for this movie. She is phenomenal. And of course, the old actors are back also. We have Harrison Ford as Han Solo, who is always great. He plays a much older Han Solo, and a Han Solo that has kind of matured and gotten wiser and not as reckless or cocky as he was back in Return of the Jedi or the other two movies. Harrison Ford really did put his all into this role, did a great job. I know Harrison Ford is famous for not being a big fan of Star Wars, but hey, you can tell in this movie that he took this job seriously. And then the chemistry between him and Chewbacca is still as great as ever, and I think this is the best I've seen Chewie in a while. I mean, there was that enjoyable but pointless cameo in Revenge of the Sith, but Chewbacca here is so expressive, and I don't know, it reminds me how great those other movies are, and that's the key thing for this movie. It reminds you how great these original films are, but it never has elements that rehash scenes directly from those other films. The plot structure is very similar to A New Hope, in the sense that we have this main character who is practically nothing, but embarks on a journey greater than she could possibly imagine. So that's the small aspect of The Force Awakens that is very similar to A New Hope, but I think it's filled with enough different elements and some surprises that make it a different movie. And in the end, you still care about what's going on, which, hey, when was the last time you heard that about a Star Wars film? But of course, we got our heroes. What about our villains? Well, Adam Driver plays the new villain, Kylo Ren, who I won't say much about him because I'll spoil parts of the movie, but he really takes inspiration from Darth Vader, and he is not Darth Vader 2.0. He wasn't simply made just because they thought, oh, you know what, people love Darth Vader, let's just have another villain dressed in black and wear a mask. No, Kylo Ren can stand on his own as a great Star Wars villain. He is a worthy successor to Darth Vader. In most of the scenes he's in, there is a very nervous energy. You get tense whenever he's on screen, and you can tell he's a guy you don't want to mess with. And Adam Driver does a phenomenal job. I was doubting him at first because I didn't know if someone like Adam Driver could play a villain. But no, it works here. It works. You can see what he's thinking despite the helmet. And I think the First Order really does serve as a very real threat. I mean, obviously they're the successor to the Galactic Empire. They got the Stormtroopers, the TIE Fighters, the Star Destroyers, a secret base. It's all there and it's all familiar, but they do serve a huge threat, unlike the non-threatening threats in the prequels. All of the action scenes are phenomenal, from the Millennium Falcon chase on Jakku to the first time the X-Wings show up, and the final battle at the end, which consists of what might be my favorite lightsaber duel. Yeah, I mean, I probably need to see this movie again. I need some time to think about that, but this lightsaber duel was really the most impressive I've seen since Empire and Jedi, because in the prequels, even though for Revenge of the Sith I did care what was going on slightly, I loved this one much more because I really cared what was going on. A lot of people had problems with the final battle being this chaotic mess and not knowing what's going on. I think we may have seen two different movies, because here it was easy for me to tell what was going on. I mean, I won't say much other than that, but if you got confused, then chances are you were probably on the internet, on your phone, or you fell asleep. And I feel sorry for you if that's the case. Now, the action scenes are great, and most of the stuff I described use CG, but most of this movie feels practical. They use real practical effects, and it's all believable. Sometimes there's a practical effect that you can't tell it's practical, thinking, oh, that's CG, and then you find out, no, that's practical. That's amazing. And it makes the movie feel much more real, that these sets are real, these creatures are real. Like, it really does make you believe in this world again. And as I mentioned, it does bring back the fantasy element of Star Wars that the prequels just lacked. You could believe in this world again. And one of the things that helps with this realism is the diversity. Because this is a giant studio film that costs $200 million. How often do you see them where your three leads are a Guatemalan actor, a black actor, and a woman. How often do you see that? And plus, in the First Order, you see more women on the job besides Captain Phasma, and you see a lot of women and creatures within the Resistance, and not just standing around doing nothing, they're actually piloting ships. So I love how diverse this movie actually is, whether it's ethnicity from your actors or just seeing these creatures all over the place. And then the cinematography is beautiful, the production design is great. I mean, it's Rick Carter, one of the best production designers working in the industry, and then the score by John Williams. Do I even have to describe it? It's a John Williams Star Wars score. You know it's going to be great, and it is great. There are several great new themes. It feels like a Star Wars score. I love it. Now let's change direction. Let's go into the realm of, I don't want to say negatives, because I think this is a near perfect movie, but more like nitpicks. One of the characters that I was really looking forward to seeing, one of the new characters, is Captain Phasma, played by Gwendolyn Christie, because I love the idea that one of the highest ranking stormtroopers is a woman, and they don't make her armor look feminine. She barely has much to do in this movie. She just walks around, doesn't do much. So, I mean, I don't really consider that spoilers. I just think it's a warning that this really cool-looking character doesn't get to do much. But hopefully she'll take the Boba Fett route, where she's popular enough that they'll bring her back in future movies. I hope. And then the scenes involving the Supreme Leader Snoke, who's mocapped by Andy Serkis, feel a bit cheesy. Not that they're bad per se, but they're the sequences in the film that really look like they're filled with CG. But with everything else in the movie feeling very real and practical, these scenes came across as cartoony in a way. Not in tone, but in the way they look. And then the fact that this film's plot is, structurally, is like A New Hope, that might be a problem for some people, but again, that didn't bother me because it has enough different things in it to keep it from being a direct remake. So in the end, I think Star Wars The Force Awakens is another masterpiece in the franchise. I absolutely love this movie from beginning to end. Yes, there are some problems, but what problems there are, for me, are so little, and the pros are so good that I can ignore the problems I may have had with the movie, and I do consider some of them to be nitpicks. But this movie is the one you're looking for. It's got fast-paced action, it moves very quickly, never a dull moment, you're never bored, great direction, great writing, great acting from all of your actors. I love how they mesh the old with the new, and this movie will make you feel all kinds of emotions. It'll make you cheer many times, it'll make you feel happy, it'll make you feel sad, it'll make you feel mad, you'll feel scared. And they do something in this movie that I honestly did not see coming. I won't say anything, but if you've seen the movie, you probably know what I'm talking about. So this was an experience I'll never forget, and I think one of the things that makes this experience so memorable is the fact that I got to see this at opening night at the Chinese Theater, where the original Star Wars debuted in 1977. So I absolutely love this movie, and in the words of Darth Vader, this will be a day long remembered, and I think The Force Awakens will be long remembered as a great Star Wars film. So I think it's no surprise that I'm going to say get off your ass and go see this movie right now if you haven't. And one of the things I really love about this is, much like with Creed and J.J. Abrams' first Star Trek movie, I think newcomers can go into this and not get lost, because this is practically a new beginning. I mean, it will help that you have seen the original trilogy and maybe the prequels, because there's a nice little fuck you moment to the prequels. But if you see this as your first Star Wars film, I think you're really in for something special. So to J.J. Abrams, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Oscar Isaac, Harrison Ford, John Williams, and everyone else involved with this film, I say thank you. Thank you for making this film as great as it is, and making us all believe in that galaxy far, far away. And that's my review for Star Wars, The Force Awakens. Leave a comment and tell me what you thought of the movie. If you've seen it, what did you think? Like, subscribe, share me with your friends. Don't forget to check out my official website, therealmrrobinson.com. And don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, SoundCloud, and Periscope. And this is The Real Mr. Robinson telling you there is only one. And may the Force be with you.